Hi friends, if anyone would like to join my live, so this live can help us to discuss the subject regarding the concept and a definition of the scope of first unit. The lesson comes contemporary India and education. So here introduction in this lesson already they have given introduction that the meaning, concept, and definition of education in different contexts traces the etymological meaning of the term are important in this chapter. An analytical discussion of those oft quoted definition of education have been included, and this chapter also makes conceptual distinction between Indian and Western concept of education, modern concept of education, and also the narrow broader views of education. So here in this lesson, after reading this unit, the reader will be able to know the following things: know the role played by education in human life, discuss the meaning of the term education, definition the concept of education, understand various definitions of education, distinguish between narrow and broader view of education, describe the scope of education. Okay, so someone has in this live, so I welcome them. So hi friend, I really don't know who are you, but with a comment only I will know who joined in this live. So please make a comment, and if you belongs to BEd special education student, you may ask any conceptual questions like this contemporary Indian and education subject for special BEd. This is semester 1 book 2. So actually what I'm trying to do today, Indian concept of education, which is already in assignments, what are the questions covered by the university that I'm trying to go discuss with you for knowing each and everything. Okay, తెలుగులో కూడా మాట్లాడుకుందాం, ఎవరేమి ఇబ్బంది పడద్దు. తెలుగులో మాట్లాడదాం, ఇంగ్లీష్లో మాట్లాడదాం, రెండు లాంగ్వేజెస్లో మాట్లాడదాం. ఇండియన్ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్. ఓకే, so in our textbook, it is in our textbook semester 1 book 2, the page number comes to fourth page 1:4, 1.4, Indian concept of education. Some of the important views regarding education given by Indians are, so here ఇండియన్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్కి సంబంధించినటువంటి కొన్ని వ్యూస్ అనేది స్కాలర్స్ ఏ మాదిరిగా అయితే ఇచ్చారో ఆ ఇచ్చిన దానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి అంశాలని వాళ్ళు ఏమని చెప్పారు అనేది నేను చెప్తాను. సో ఋగ్వేదాలో ఎడ్యుకేషన్ని ఏ మాదిరిగా చెప్పారంటే, అకార్డింగ్ టు ఋగ్వేద, ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఈజ్ దాట్ విచ్ మేక్స్ ఎ మ్యాన్ సెల్ఫ్ రిలయంట్ అండ్ సెల్ఫ్లెస్. సో ఋగ్వేదాలో ఈ మాదిరిగా అన్నారు. ఓకే, ఉపనిషత్స్లో ఎడ్యుకేషన్ గురించి ఏమని చెప్పారంటే, అకార్డింగ్ టు ఉపనిషత్స్, ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఈజ్ దట్ హూజ్ ఎండ్ ప్రోడక్ట్ ఈజ్ సాల్వేషన్. ఓకే, సో యజ్ఞవాల్క్యాస్ వ్యూ, ఓకే, యజ్ఞవాల్క్యాస్ వ్యూస్లో అకార్డింగ్ టు యజ్ఞవాల్క్య, ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఈజ్ దట్ విచ్ మేక్స్ ఏ man of good character and useful for the world. So you can understand this. Okay, so good character ఏదైతే ఉంటుందో అట్లా మనిషిని తయారు చేయగలిగింది అనేది ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అని చెప్పేసి యజ్ఞవాల్క్యస్ అన్నారు. Panini's view, the famous Indian grammarian Panini, human education means the training which one gets from nature. Okay, so nature నుంచి మనం ఏ విధంగా అయితే ట్రైన్ అవుతామో అది మనకి ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అని చెప్పేసినారు. So Vivekananda's view, Vivekananda says education is the manifestation of divine perfection already existing in man. He further says, we want an education by which character is formed, strength of mind is increased, the intellect is expanded and by which one can stand on one's own feet. So the people who educate themselves, that they should have these qualities. So Vivekananda's views are not here. Okay, Vedantic view. So Vedantic view, according to Vedantic point of view, the essence of man is spirituality. We need an education that quickens, that vivifies, and that kindles the urge of spirituality inherent in every mind. So Vedantic view lo education ni madre chepparu. Shankaracharya's view. Indian philosopher Shankaracharya says education is relationship of the self. Okay. Aurobindo's views. Aurobindo opines education is the helping the growing soul to draw out that it in itself. Tagore's view. So Rabindranath Tagore, you well known him. Tagore opines education means enabling the mind to find out that ultimate truth which emancipates and from the bondage from the dust gives us the wealth, not of things but of inner light, not of power but of love, making the truth its own and giving expression do it. In other words, to Tagore, education or that which makes one's life in harmony with all existence. So then Gandhiji. So Gandhiji's view of education, what he was said. According to Mahatma Gandhi, by educational I mean an all-round drawing out of the best in child and man body, mind and spirit. So Mahatma Gandhi said like this of education view. Okay, University Education Commission report. So regarding a University Education Commission, what says in the world of University Education Commission report, education according to the Indian traditions is not merely means of conning a living, nor it is only nursery of thought or a school for citizenship. It is initiation into the life of spirit, training of man, souls in the pursuit of truth and the practice of virtue. It is a second birth, divitium, daivatyam janma. Okay, so Western concept education. So some of the most popular views of Western educational thinkers are as follows. Plato's view. Plato remarks education is the capacity to feel pleasure and pain in the right moment. It develops in the body and in the soul of the people all the beauty and all the performance. Okay, so I just would like to okay, fine. So whoever follow me, I'll be with them. Okay. So narrow and broader meaning of education. Okay, narrow meaning education. So narrow meaning education mean the narrow sense education is conformed to schooling and university formal instructions. Education starts when the child enters in an educational institution, school, and ends when he completes his studies or leaves the education institution, school, college, or university. So this is a one thing. Okay, unit summary. So actually the question was asked by the okay. Just I would like to read all the lesson for simple thing. Okay. Western concept of education. Some of the most popular views of Western education thinkers are as follows. Plato's view. Plato remarks education is the capacity to feel pleasure and pain pain at the right moment and develop in the body and in the soul of the people all the beauty and all the perfection of which he is capable of. Aristotle's view. Aristotle, the disciple of Plato, said, education develops man's faculty, especially his mind, so that he may be able to enjoy the contemplation of a supreme truth, goodness and beauty, in which perfect happiness, perfect happiness essentially consists. He briefly explained education as the creation of sound mind and a sound body. Okay, Comenius views. Comenius characterized education as a true foreign place. That is, education gives a new shape to man. Okay, Pastology view. Pastology speaks of education as a natural, harmonious, and progressive development of man in man's innate power. Adams' view. Adams, modern English educationist, defines education as a conscious and deliberate process in which one personality acts upon another in order to modify the development of the other by the communication and manipulation of knowledge. Okay. Uh, Dewey's view. John Dewey, a famous American educationist, remarks, education is the process of living through a continuous reconstruction of experiences. It is a development of all those capacities in the individual which will enable him to control his environment and fulfill his possibilities. So, Herbert's view. Herbert's opines education is the development of good moral characters. Okay. Then in page number five, contemporary Indian and education. So page number 5, 1.6. Narrow and broader meaning of education. Narrow meaning of education. In the narrow sense, education is confined to schooling and university formal instruction. Education starts when the child enters an educational institution, school, and ends when he completes his studies or leaves the educational institution. Schools, colleges, or university. It is limited to span of time. The success of education of the individual is evaluated in terms of passing the examination. There are deliberate, purposeful, and planned efforts on the part of education, part of the teacher, to impart knowledge. A teacher is a mature person who presents and imparts the expensive experiences of the whole human society. According to this view, education is limited to classroom teaching of the ready material. This type of education is intentionally rather than incidental. It is organized through the consciously designed institutions. It has got a definite curriculum. Professional or technical institutions impart knowledge in a specific subject to pass examination, certifying the proficiency in that subject. It is conformed to classroom teaching of ready-made material, and it is also confined to predetermined specific bits of knowledge, which includes only the academic subject traditionally taught in the school. Moreover, it is restricted to that function of the community which passes on its tradition, cultural background, its knowledge, and its attitude to the member of the rising generation to specialized people. Instrument and methods. Accordingly, education is limited to only few special and specific influences. Thus, in the narrower sense, education may be taken to mean any consciously directed efforts to development and cultivate our powers. Broader meaning of education. Okay, broader meaning of education. In the broader sense, education is a lifelong process. It starts with conception and ends with the death. That is, it is education from womb to womb, cradle to grave. Wow, what a really wow. Broader meaning of education. In the broader sense, education is a lifelong process. It starts with conception and ends with death. That is, it is education from womb to womb, cradle to grave. This goes beyond schooling and instructions. Education is life. Life is education. Education begins at birth and it continues throughout life. It is all round development of human personality. Contents of education encompasses the whole life. All life, the fully lived is education. It includes all instants: social, cultural, domestic, and geographical, even the soil, climate, and surrounding educate us. From broader sense, whatever broadness over horizons deepens our insight, refines our reaction, stimulates our thoughts and feelings, and educates us. According to Dunville, education in its widest sense includes all the influences which act upon an individual during his passage from the cradle to the grave. Everything which influences human behavior and personality is education. Education includes experiences in number of agencies like home, school, club, cinema, press, friend, playground, workshop, travel, physical environment, social environment, and and the form of government. Mark Hopkins opines education in its widest sense includes everything that exerts of a formative inclusion influences. Okay, thus in views. So, thus in the wider sense, education is life, and life is education. It is truly the life that educative Edward Training elaborated this point and said education is a transmission of life by the living to the living. If we take the broader sense, even an illiterate person receives education throughout his life. Definitely it will be happens. Illiterate persons also will be educated by his experiences. The sum total of the all his experiences during lifetime is education. Lord, while supporting these views, says in the wider sense, all experiences is said to be educative. The bit of a mosquito, so the bite of a mosquito, the taste of watermelon, the experience of being caught in a storm in a small boat, all such experiences have a directly educative effect on us. The child educates his parents, the people educate his teacher. Everything we say, think, or do educates us no less than what is said or done to us by other beings, animate or inanimate. Okay, thus every stage of life has its distinctive features and problems which are attended to by education. This education is a scattered the whole lifespan and consists of the systematic development and cultivation of the normal power of intellect, feeling the conduct as to render them effective, efficient in some particular form of living or for life in general. Okay. Synthesis of so formal, non-formal information, informal and lifelong education. Formal education. What is formal education? Okay, the formal education, it implies planned education keeping in view some definite aims. Imparted through well-planned means of formal lessons having a definite course to be covered during a definite period. The teacher and the learner are acquainted with the teaching, learning process and it's organized by some private agency or government. Starting and ending has a particular age and education is associated with a degree or certificate education usually associated with some sort of mental strain on the teacher and the taught. Non-formal education. What is non-formal education mean? It implies flexibility in various aspects of education, that is admissions, place of education, curriculum, age, co-curricular activities, modes of teaching, evaluation, etc. It covers lifespan of individual where self-growth, self-renewal are guided by motivation of the individual. Diversified curriculum responds to diversified environmental needs. The process of sharing, analyzing, and judging with the minimum participation, the learners is part of time of education. Okay, informal education. So what is informal education? Already formal education I have said, and non-formal education I have said. Informal education. Informal education, it implies unconscious learning that takes place. There is no fixed aim, curriculum and methods of teaching. There is no organized body or institutions behind this process. It is lifelong learning and its natural outcome is absorbed. It is acquired without any conscious efforts. Without any conscious efforts. So mode, okay, lifelong learning. What is lifelong learning? So here, lifelong learning, in every person's life there will be lifelong learning will be process will be there. Likely to be a person who is going to educate himself or train up himself. There is a specific starting point will be there and specific ending point will be there, like the birth and death. So every person they learn some things in educated manner and in some aspect manner. So definitely person will learn in every day. Okay, so lifelong learning, an individual learns step by step, every moment, every day, every month and every year if given an opportunity. According to UNESCO, lifelong educational embraces all forms of education and especially out of school education. So it will be happens. Futures, it is self-education. It has no internal terminal stage. It is for all and it is a concept cooperative affair. Television and other mass media become important allies in the educational enterprise. Computer and internet are expected to play a significant role in lifelong education these days. So surely we have to accept all these things. Okay. Modern meaning concept of education. Modern concept of education is learner-centered. The learners occupies a central place in the education process. Education revolves around the learners. They teach the people rather than the subject. Is the watchword of modern education. The pupils not to be subordinate to an external discipline, a rigid syllabus, centrally proposed timetable, or attractive activities shooting only to the institutions or the teacher. The modern concept of education is a mean to draw out of the best in the pupil body, mind, and spirit. This means to develop capacities of the learner in the social environment in the best possible manner, wholesome, balanced, and all-around development of personality in the earlier period. Education was considered as a process to thrust into the mind of the learner ready-made tidbits of knowledge, as if the mind was an empty vessel. Generally speaking, education is utilized in three senses: knowledge, subject, and a process. When a person achieves degree up to a certain level, we do not call it education. For example, if a person we say he has succeeded master's degree, then we utilize this survey based on his education in a very narrow sense, called that the person has achieved education up to master level. In the second sense, education is considered as a discipline. For example, if a person had taken education as a paper or as a discipline during his study in any institution, then we consider education as a subject. In the third sense, education is utilized as a process. In fact, when we use the term education, we use it in the third sense, that is, education is a process. Okay. The scope of education. The scope of education. Meaning of the term scope. Scope of meaning of the term scope. Scope meaning the breadth, comprehensiveness, and the variety of learning experiences to be provided in the educational process. According to the dictionary meaning, scope refers to the extent or range of view, outlook, application, operation, and effectiveness viewed in this sense. Education is concerned with the whole life of man. His entire life comes under the purview of education. The scope of education is very wide. The scope of education is wide. Its theme is life. Education in the broader meaning is very comprehensive. It is dynamic force in the life of every individual, influencing his physical, mental, emotional, social, and ethical development. Education becomes the process of assisting the individual in undergoing appropriate needed experiences and in organization those experiences into meaning of this life activities. As such, the scope of education is very wide and long. Okay, it is as wide as the world and as long as the history of man on the earth. John Dewey's views on education view, which describing the scope of education, John Dewey writes, the function of education is to help the growing of a helpless young animal happy, moral, and efficient human being. Man has a nature which is basically animal, and he cannot be understood apart from the natural world out of which he has come. Education has to fit the people to the environment so that he may enjoy the pleasure of satisfying his instincts in socially approved channels. These impressions about education and preferences towards formal and informal types of education, the narrower and broader meaning sufficiently depict the scope of education. Okay, education is broader than obtaining knowledge. In the world of Dr. S. Radhakrishna, the human mind is a product of the struggle for existence. It is to tool making food seeking instrument which learns the right adjustment by a process of trial and error. Its working is experimental, its devices are utilitarian and its views are tentative. Education is thus broader than formal schooling. Education must be related to the activities of the society in which it is found. In short, education, its wider understanding is life and includes manual value, normal tests, and so on. Okay? So, miscellaneous view. So, miscellaneous views. Esnelly observes, I want education to produce the best that is in a child. This is the only way This is the only way to improve the world. Or as Peters considers educations as initiations. The poet Wordsworth saw education as a full process of growth from earliest infancy. He believed that feeling, the quality which feeling gives to experience, must be cherished and retained throughout life. If men are to reach the greatness of which even ordinary people are capable, in all we can say that the term education refers to the following connotations: education for adaptability, education for problem solving, education for creative leisure, education for family living, education for understanding the nature of the modern world and modern society. This shows the education of the whole child is more than teaching him make knowledge of facts or skills. His emotions and attitudes must be included in the total process of changing his behavior. So, the first lesson we are really going to end shortly. And now, what are the assignment lesson questionnaire we received? The same we are going to try to answer in this. Okay. This process of modification of human behavior calls for a close contact of education with psychology, philosophy, science, politics, economic, religious, and other social studies. It makes education complete. This influence is a two-way traffic. In conclusion, we can say that education is a powerful discipline and includes within its managed with range different subjects, activities, and factors which influences human development. Education is a potential medium for individuals' scrutiny and also a powerful force for social reconstruction. It includes everything of human life and every aspect of social structure. So the entire unit summary, just I am going to brief you. Unit summary, page number 10. Education is as old as the human race. It is a never-ending process of inner growth and development, and its period stretches from cradle to grave. Thinkers, philosophers, educationalists through different periods of human civilization have attempted to define education, and in doing so they have left the mark of their own value and philosophies on the definitions they have coined. Education in ancient Indian was aimed at training of the mind as instrument of knowledge and the discharge of one's dharma. The contemporary Indian thinkers linked it with the human and societal development. The Western view on education has also changed over time from it being the activities of mind experiences. Definition of education world revealed three major trends. One group of definition stressed the spiritual emancipation of the human soul. Another lays emphasis the development of inherent human potentialities to desirable levels, while the last group gives importance to the social context and nature of education. In the world of University Education Commission report, education according to the Indian traditions is not merely means of earning a living, nor is it only nursery of truth or a school for citizenship. It is initiating to the life of spirit, training of man souls in the pursuit of truth and the practice of virtue. It is the second birth, Daivatyam Janma. Narrow view. Education is confined to schooling and instruction. It is limited to span of time. Education is confined to schooling and university instructions. Broader view. Education is expanded from womb to tomb, cradle the grave. It is lifelong process this goes beyond schooling and instructions. Education is life. Life is education. Education being at birth and continuous throughout life. It is all around the development of human personality. Context of education encompasses the whole life. Modern concept of education is learner, and third, learner occupies a central place in the education process. Education revolves around the learner. So in this lesson, what are the points we would like to remember in the textbook they already have given. So I'm just going to thorough it. It is through education that man develops his thinking and reasoning, problem solving and creativity, intelligence and aptitude, positive sentiment and skills, good values and attitudes. The word education is derived from two Latin words, educare and edicere. The first one meaning to raise and to bring up, while the second one means to the lead forth or to come out. According to Rigveda, Indian concept of education is that which makes a man self-reliant and selfless. According to Plato, Western concept of education is the capacity to feel pleasure and pain at the right moment. It develops in the body and in the soul of the people all the beauty and all the perfection of which he is capable of. In the narrow sense, education is confined to schooling and university instructions. Education starts when the child enters an education institution, school, and ends when he completes his studies or leaves the education institution, school, college, or university. In the broader sense, education is confined to womb to tomb, cradle the grave. It is a lifelong process. Okay, this goes beyond schooling and instructions. Education is long as education begins at birth and continues throughout life. It is all around the development of human personality. Okay, so already we have completed all the education concept. What is the education concept? And a definition and scope of the education. So in this we may find 4 questions. Okay. Okay, fine. So now I am going to finish this live because one chapter has over, one unit has over. So again I just would like to go for second chapter, or else if I want to continue with this live only, I'll just continue this chapter. So in this in black one, philosophical foundation of education. In this already we have how many pages? 69 pages. and moreover this page contains to 318 pages, but I am not going to all the pages individually. Just what are the subjects covered in assignments, for that only I am going. I don't want to waste my valuable time with unnecessary reading, which is very important thing only. I just would like to discuss with you, or I just want to read with you, okay? And moreover, if any BEd special education student is there, so I request them to type contemporary India and education questions. If anybody will type the questions, I will check all these questions where I will find in this chapter, okay? Or else your cooperation and your contribution will not be appear in my life. ఎవరైనా ఉంటే కనుక లైవ్లో ఉన్న వాళ్ళలో ఎవరైనా ఫ్రెండ్స్ అసైన్మెంట్స్లో బీఈడి స్పెషల్ అసైన్మెంట్లో ఉన్నటువంటి క్వశ్చన్స్ ఏమైనా ఉంటే కనుక మీరు చెప్పండి. అట్లీస్ట్ టైప్ చేయండి. టైప్ చేస్తే నా స్క్రీన్ పైన వస్తాయి. నా స్క్రీన్ పైన వచ్చినప్పుడు నేను డెఫినెట్లీ షో చార్ట్ వ్యూ అన్నారు, ఎంటర్ టెక్స్ట్ అనేసి అన్నారు, క్యాన్సిల్ అన్నారు. చూడండి క్వశ్చన్స్. సబ్జెక్ట్ వచ్చేసి సెమిస్టర్ 1 బుక్ 2లో బీఈడిఎస్సి A2 కంటెంపరీ ఇండియన్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్లో అసైన్మెంట్ క్వశ్చన్స్ అనేది టైప్ చేయండి. నాకు మెసేజెస్లో పెడితే కనుక ఆ మెసేజెస్ని బేస్ చేసుకొని ఐ జస్ట్ గో త్రూ విత్ ఓకే. తెలుగులో కూడా నేను ట్రాన్స్లేట్ చేసి చెప్పగలను, కొంచెం ఏం ప్రాబ్లం లేదు, చెప్తా. మన ఫ్రెండ్స్ ఎవరు ఉన్నారో కూడా నాకు తెలియదు దీంట్లో, కామెంట్స్ రూపంలో వస్తే, సో ఐ మే ఫైండ్ దెమ్. Okay, fine. Concept of diversity. So concept of diversity. So in assignment I found second question, meaning of diversity and definition of diversity consciousness, problems and benefits of diversity. So I would like to read all this lesson because this lesson is very important, I think so. So why don't I cover all these lessons in one live show, because friends, what are the convenient times I really don't know. Even I just go with the second live. So now I am going to stop this live. So again I am going to give one more link to you. So in that link you may join. Thank you.